I've been doing a ton of experimenting, trying to find new and interesting ways to take out machines in the Forbidden West, and I think I found my most powerful build yet. This build will absolutely shred through some of the toughest machines in the game. And I even surprised myself with just how easy this build makes it to take out some of the largest heavyweight machines like Thunderjaws, Dreadwings, and Shellsnappers. Yeah, that's right. Even apex Shellsnappers can be taken out in just a couple of hits with this build. So let's break down my ultimate corrosive build that I've nicknamed the Corrosion Explosion build. Hey everyone, I'm Chaz. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you're ready to drop some acid because I'm gonna take you on a trip to break down my ultimate corrosive build. Now this build basically works by putting a machine through the corrosive state through the buildup of acid. And then while the machine is in the corrosive state, we'll have a window where we're gonna be dealing an absolutely massive amount of damage. And the acid buildup is really the key to this entire build. Acid is one of my favorite elements to use in the Forbidden West, and there's a couple of things about it that make it particularly interesting. For one, acid starts to eat away at the machine's armor plates, making them weaker and more susceptible to damage. Two, the machine will continue to take a small amount of damage over time while it's in the corroding state. And last, but most interestingly, when a machine's in the corroding state, your chances of dealing a critical hit are doubled. And this is something we're definitely going to want to take advantage of in order to ensure that we're dealing maximum damage in a short amount of time. Now here's just a quick recap of how critical hits work in the Forbidden West and why they're just so powerful. Each weapon type has a base percent chance of dealing a critical hit and a specific damage multiplier. So as with any build, if you're looking to deal maximum damage, you want to increase either your percent chance of dealing a critical hit or the amount of critical hit damage. And when a machine is in the corroding state, that base percent chance of a weapon dealing a critical hit is going to be double what it is by default. And this is something that we're definitely going to want to take advantage of to get that percent chance of dealing a critical hit as high as possible. But before we do that, we're going to need to put a machine in the corroding state. And the primary weapon that we're going to want to use to do that is the Legacy's Reach Blastsling, which you can pick up for Champions tokens in New Game Plus. Now there are a lot of pretty good acid weapons in the game, like the Sunscourge Hunter Bow or the Ancestors Return Shredder Gauntlet, but there's a couple of reasons why I prefer the Legacy's Reach. For one, it already deals a decent amount of acid damage and buildup, even without any coils, which is good because we want to put a machine in the corrosive state as quickly as possible. Not only that, but when we're using the acid bombs on the Blastsling, we're not only hitting the machine with acid directly, but we're also creating some residual acid puddles that are going to continue to deal a bit of damage and can help put the machine in the corroding state even faster. Now for coils, by far the most important coil that we're going to want to use is the Elite Acid Coil that you can pick up from a merchant in the Burning Shores for shards and brimshine. Now because this is a New Game Plus build, I have two of these coils that I'll be equipping. What makes this coil particularly interesting is that not only does it increase the amount of acid buildup and damage, but it also increases damage dealt by projectile and explosive ammo while the machine is in the corrosive state. Now the Legacy's Reach does have explosive ammo that you can use to take advantage of this, but we're going to choose a secondary weapon which is going to deal even more damage. Now for your other coils, you could go all in on acid buildup by using the plus 15% or plus 12% acid coils, but I'm only going to use one additional plus 15% acid coil, and for my other two coil slots, I'll be using two 25% damage over time coils. Now the damage over time coils won't increase the amount of damage the acid does to the armor plates while the machine is in the corrosive state. That number is capped depending on the type of machine, but it will increase the amount of damage dealt by the residual acid puddles from the acid bombs. The Legacy's Reach also comes with the plus 40% damage over time perk, so these coils are going to be a nice complement. And once the machine is put in the corrosive state, they'll typically be stunned for a few seconds, so this combination is going to give us a nice window to deal some good damage right off the bat. Now for our next weapon, we're going to want to use the Defiance Spike Thrower, which is a spike thrower that you can get in New Game Plus for Champions tokens. Now as far as spike throwers go, there are definitely more powerful ones out there, and this one does only have 4 skills instead of 5, which is typical for other legendary weapons. But this one does have a unique set of ammo and skills that are going to make it particularly useful for this build. For one, it has both explosive and advanced explosive spikes. On their own, these spikes have the potential to deal a significant amount of damage, but with the damage buff they'll get when used in combination with the Elite Acid Coils, they're going to become extremely powerful. And for skills, what makes the Defiance unique is that it comes with plus 25% corrosive machine damage. This is going to help us further increase the amount of damage we're able to deal while the machine is in the corrosive state. And for coils, there's a couple of different paths you could take here, but here's what I use in my build. I want to further increase the amount of damage I'm able to do while the machine is in that corrosive state, so I'll be using 3 plus 18% corroding enemy damage coils, which you can pick up from the merchant in Thornmarsh. And for the remaining coil slots, I want to go all in on critical hits, so I'll be using 2 elite critical hit chance coils, which will increase our chances of dealing a critical hit by an additional 15% each. Now, instead of using the corroding enemy damage coils, you could just go all in on critical hit chance coils, but instead of doing that, we're going to increase our chances of dealing critical hits in a couple of other ways. For one, we're mostly going to be using the splitting spike weapon technique on the spike thrower. This weapon technique unleashes a barrage of spikes into the air that will all explode after a short delay. And each of these spikes has the potential for dealing a critical hit, which makes it a really powerful option. But the last key piece for this build is going to be the critical boost Valor Surge. The critical boost Valor Surge increases our chances of dealing a critical hit by 55%, which puts us well over 100% chance of dealing a critical hit, and also gives us an extra % chance when using a weapon technique like the splitting spike. So while the machine is in the corroding state and the chain burst Valor Surge is active, and we're using the splitting spike weapon technique with our advanced explosive ammo, we are going to be dealing an absolutely insane amount of damage. Alright, and that wraps up my ultimate corrosion explosion build. Now, I do have a few other unique and interesting build videos in the works, so if you're like me and can't get enough of the Forbidden West and taking out machines is your happy place, definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss those when they come out. And as always, if you have any comments about the build, or recommendations or suggestions for how I can make it even more powerful, definitely be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.